Hey everybody, this is Grace, and in this video I'm going to talk about about rage, okay, actual rage, anger to rage. And over the years, when I first started making videos on YouTube, I heard that people were calling things, they had names for them. I've never heard them before, but I got the gist that many people knew them by that term, or those terms. And I think in any video I would say some people call it, like that. And that was like narcissistic injury and narcissistic rage. Now that is not how I've ever viewed it before then. I was a career student, okay? Social and behavioral scientist, taught at college and university. And I've early retired. So, but anyway, the narcissistic injury is what some call it. It was always the only term that I recall ever using, not in a professional way, but just person to person or any people using, was ego bruised. They got their ego bruised. Okay, bruised ego. That would be the injury. Like you say something to them, and it could be something that you weren't meaning in any way that they took it, which was usually like you were, like they had this feeling of being superior. And what you said was you disagreed with them, or you just said, something they just took wrong. But there are differences here. I'll get to that. And the other one's the narcissistic rage. That's one I really want to talk about. I always had simply call them fits of rage. Okay. Some would say, like, usually they'd say that about children that I recall in my experience, in my life. That doesn't mean everybody. It's just they have a meltdown, okay, really, and just go into a rage during it. Now, the issues I have with this, when I woke up this morning, my mom was, I sometimes wake up in the morning and something hits me that this isn't right about something, or I need to correct that, or work on that, or something like that when I wake up in the morning. And this one was this. That it's not really narcissistic rage that I've experienced, not myself, but seeing people do, hearing about and seeing people do. I mean, seeing a lot of, I've known people who were diagnosed with what I see it as too, and it's from, I've known them to be diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, and that rage seems like borderline rage. Okay, that's different from narcissistic rage. They say so, but I don't know. I don't know if it's even narcissistic rage. It may be that they are narcissistic and they get their ego bruised and then they go into a fit of rage, but that rage depends on how it goes. I see it more as borderline rage. Okay, like for example, let me get to this. Okay, let me get to this part. When I woke up, I was thinking about the difference between complex post-traumatic stress disorder and borderline personality disorder. I was thinking of this again. I've read up on scholarly journal articles. And this morning I was half asleep, seriously. I was looking it up online. I don't usually trust just anything I read online about it, but I had clicked on some scholarly journal articles and just kind of skimmed. I was, like I said, half asleep. And what I was thinking was this, like the difference between the rage, the anger that leads to the rage, in these two, complex post-traumatic stress disorder and borderline personality disorder. And the way I was seeing it at that moment when I was thinking half asleep was like a person with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, say, they have been, they have been through a lot, at some point in their life, a lot. That was bad, that was done to them repeatedly. It could be more than one situation, more than one person, more different times in life. It's not just one instance or one here, one there. Yeah, go read up on it. Scholarly journal articles. But when something happens that somebody has really insulted them, say such as, but let me go back here. Somebody does something that's harmful to them, that's like that is an insult, and it has, it basically, there's something that's a survival. Okay, there's something that could lead to some problem with their own survival, such as, somebody at work tells the boss a lie about you or insults you and says you don't know what you're doing on your job, and there's that risk of losing your job, losing your livelihood. And the person that had repeatedly had people do things like to them, yeah, they might go into a rage, might go into a rage. But the difference between that and, say, a borderline person that I have seen, is that when they go into that rage, it doesn't last forever. I mean, that's what it feels like with somebody with borderline. Okay, it's not forever, but they don't go into a really long rage. It might take them time to calm down, but here's the big difference, I think. Say that the person is really angry, really upset, in that rage, the person with complex post-traumatic stress disorder, because here it is again, it's a threat to their livelihood, their survival, and they feel that really strong need to, the whole strong need to do something, to act. But if something happened right in the middle of it, like there's a warning, a siren saying there's a tornado on the way, okay, tornado warning, they would stop and go to the safe room. Now this is how I've seen it, a person with borderline, if they were in a borderline rage, it wouldn't matter that there was they heard the siren, the tornado, and you're saying, come on, we got to get to a safe room, and they're just still raging. Okay, they're like yelling or however they do their own rage, they won't stop. You can drag them unfortunately, you'd be dragging them into the safe room with you while they're still raging. Okay. And it can take, I think, days. I think more, some of the ones I've seen, it's more like hours maybe, but some can take days and weeks, and they might hold a grudge, like, yeah, So that's what I've seen. Okay, and like I said, when I say what I've seen, I've known, it's not me, I'm seeing people go through this. Now, as far as complex post-traumatic stress disorder, I haven't been diagnosed with it, but yeah, I would say a little bit, if not a lot of bit. But I've definitely been working on it. But when I get angry, I don't really go into a rage. And I think that that's a difference there too, is how it is expressed. Does it go to a full-blown rage, or is it just like, I cannot believe? That's how mine is. Once again, I'm facing one of these type people who just think they can do and say whatever they want to anybody and get away with it. Now, what I've seen in people who are borderline, it doesn't have to I have not known them. The ones I know, I'm not saying all of them, the ones I've known, they're not thinking. I'm sorry I put it this way. They don't usually use, some kind of thought like that. It's more like what some would call that narcissistic injury, that here they are thinking they're superior in that, and somebody's attacking them and saying, to them it's an attack. That, no, you're wrong. You say, I disagree with you. To them, like I just said, it's an attack on them. So I don't even know if I would call it narcissistic injury, the ego bruise, that would lead to the narcissistic rage, that some call it. But I see it as borderline rage. You see? What would be the difference? I mean, a person with borderline personality disorder can be narcissistic. They can also, from what I understand, have a bipolar disorder. I've seen this when the three mix together, and I've seen it more than once in more than one person. Yeah. Whenever they get in that, this is how I've seen it. When they get into the, they're manic, they're thinking they can take over the world, they can do all they want, they can have everything perfect in their life if they just do this, and that, and they can do it all themselves. Just so easily. And they realize then when it gets to that part where they're in the manic phase, and when it starts to they start to see, kind of come out of that and see that, no, I can't really. And then it goes into the depression, but in that stage in between, the manic phase and the depressive phase. But in the middle, in between those two, when they realize they can't do everything they think they can and make everything wonderful for them or whomever, that is the worst time that I've ever experienced when I've seen people do this. And they were both males. That their rage, it's like anything said by anybody, I mean, it didn't have to be me, anybody would put them into this unbelievable rage. Because the real true ego bruise was that they weren't able to do all that they thought they could. And instead they put it on somebody else, that anything anybody else says that could be even remotely seen as disagreeing with them or to them an insult or just an ego bruise. Boom! They're taking all of that anger at themselves that should be at themselves. They're taking it out on that person, and it doesn't matter who it is. That's what I've seen. Now that's a horrible combination, in my view, of what I've seen. Someone who may have narcissistic behaviors. I've known one that I would say was definitely fall under antisocial, but that's a whole thing with the psychopath kind of thing. But anyway, and diagnosed at borderline and with bipolar disorder, both, and on top of it, attention deficit disorder. Was on medication for that, and diabetes, type 1. Whoa, I can say that. That was the stalker. I didn't know he was all that before. That one. The other ones. Oh my goodness. Some diagnosed, some not, but I've seen it in people. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I think that was enough. That's just kind of triggering me and taking me back to those times. Don't want to go back there, so I admit it when I'm getting triggered. So anyway, I'm going to wrap this one up right here then, and maybe I'll talk more about it later, another day. But I did do one before about borderline and not borderline, but narcissistic and bipolar. Yeah. But like I said, as for this, I also was thinking about how do people that don't have either one of these, or people who don't have any kind of disorder on the end of whatever it is, how do they handle rage? Do they experience rage, or is it just they get very angry? And I have a good example for when I think probably most people, unless they're pretty much totally dulled, desensitized to everything or whatever, that they would not feel any emotion. That's another thing. They might have disorder on it. But yeah, there are situations that if you see something happening to this, that, or the other type, you might you might. But anyway, that's it for another video. I'll talk to you on another video. And by the way, I could be wrong. Read the disclaimer in the description box below this video on YouTube. Disclaimers.